Bienvenidos, queridos amigos, a esta nueva edición del Mercurio, ahora nunca, hoy domingo. Hoy tenemos, yo creo que una estupenda entrevista, muy oportuna, muy vigente. Entrevistamos a Ritesh Jain, es un destacado economista y estratego financiero, es un estratega financiero de la India, pero es muy famoso en los Estados Unidos con amplia experiencia en la gestión de inversiones y macroeconomía. Él ha trabajado en diversas instituciones financieras de renombre, incluyendo el Tata Asset Manager, también estuvo en el HSBC Management de la India y es conocido por su análisis bien perspicaz sobre la economía global y los mercados financieros. A menudo él comparte sus puntos de vista a través de diferentes pues, plataformas sociales, ¿no? Y conferencias. Es particularmente reconocido por su enfoque en la macroeconomía, en el tema de los mercados emergentes y las políticas monetarias. Hoy vamos a conversar con él. Creo que vale enormemente la pena lo que nos tiene que decir. Así que, ¿qué les parece si arrancamos? Entre otras cosas, nos dicen que el banco central más poderoso del mundo no es la Fed, sino que se trata del Banco de Japón. Saludo a todos los que están ahí conectados, a todos nuestros amigos que nos están viendo en vivo. Muchos mensajes ya estoy viendo. Vamos a ir poniéndolos en el transcurso de la entrevista, pero vamos a continuar entonces con Ritesh Jain en esta primera parte de esta entrevista con él que no tiene desperdicio. Empezamos. Well, I want to know what do you think were the main causes of Friday and Monday stock market crash or little crash? What do you think about that? What was the main causes?
Actually, people think that Fed is the most powerful central banker in the world, and it is not true. The most powerful central banker in the world is Bank of Japan. And for the simple reason that what we call carry trade, okay, people have heard this term carry trade. This is real. This is real. Think about it, in a country like India or US or even in any part of, Latin American world, interest rates is 7, 8, 10, 9, 10%. In Japan, it is 0%. There are people who have actually borrowed money in JPY, Japan, or they have borrowed in their own currency and converted into JPY. It happens everywhere. What happens is when you convert your loan from one currency to another currency, if your currency you have to pay 10% and in JPY you have to pay 1%, then only on interest alone you save 8 to 9%. It's a very simple thing. Till the time JPY does not appreciate against that currency, whether it is Mexican peso or Indian rupee or US dollar. The problem comes is when this starts appreciating. And why did it start appreciating? For the simple reason that Bank of Japan, which was supposed to raise rates by 10 basis point, raised the rates by 25 basis point. Now, is 25 basis point such a big thing? You are starting at 0%. How does it matter? What matters is in today's world, we are used to spoon feeding. We are used to central bankers telling us, look, I will do this thing on this particular day at this particular time. Then we discount that particular thing. And when they do that thing, they prepare us for that thing. Like a school teacher, market reacts in that particular way. So Fed did not cut the rates. On top of that thing, Bank of Japan raised the rates. They did not prepare the market. They even reduced the amount of JGBs they will buy from the market. And suddenly people thought it was very hawkish. So people who were short yen, who had borrowing in yen, which we call used for investing across the world, from Australian bonds to Mexican peso, to Mexican equities, to Indian equities. Okay. As soon as the yen started appreciating, let's say if a yen starts appreciating, then you have a margin call. Why? Because if something value is going to come down, the person with whom you've made a contract will come to you and say, give me the difference. It's a very simple thing. When you have to start giving the difference and you do not have cash, what do? You sell some assets to raise cash to pay him. Since JPY is used as a carry currency to invest globally, whatever assets were there had to be sold. I've been on that part of the desk myself, where suddenly something happened. You sell what you can, not what you have to.
Hmm.
Okay. So it's a very big difference. I might not have wanted to sell XYZ asset, but that is the only asset in which there was a liquidity. So when that is a thing, you start selling it, the value of asset goes down, yens continue appreciating. Again, you sell something, the value of yen goes up. Again, you keep on hitting, and that is what happened over the weekend. The biggest burn was there in Japanese stocks, apart from cryptos, which trades on weekend, because you could only sell cryptos on weekend. There are a lot of wallets which were emptied over weekend. In couple of hours, there were even $500 million of selling. Where do you find liquidity? So this is all a cascading effect, all related to nothing else has changed in the world. It's just that some news from somebody whose currency is used for buying assets across the world, they did not, there was a disconnect between what they were wanting to do, what market knew, and then market, when it started reacting, this is what it led to cascading of selling. It has nothing more than that. Something, it's a margin call.
And what do you think if I don't know if it will happen if the yen continues to rise, if it rises aggressively and steadily?
Okay. I think the first level of selling is done, where you will say that something sitting on margin has been whatever had to be liquidated has been liquidated. Now, if economic data supports going forward that no, Japanese currency should appreciate further, then yes, it is possible. Some kind of selling will start happening, continue to happen. But what you've seen is 80 to 90% is done. It's done. Whoever was on margin. So let's say if you are not on margin, you've not borrowed money, extra money to buy assets, you have $100 and you have invested only $100. You can only lose that much. But if you have $100 and you borrowed $300 on the top of that thing and invested that thing, that $300 has got liquidated. It has been liquidated in equity market. It has been liquidated in cryptos. It has so I would say that the froth is over.
Okay.
And as per Goldman Sachs, market is no more short JPY. Market is now turned long JPY. So that means the entire risk in asset market is over. Currency volatility can be there.
I want you to help me try to understand what is happening in Japan, basically with their economy, because it seems that they are in a dilemma, or they save their currency or they save their stock market. They are they have the biggest debt in the world and low rates forever. And I would like you to explain us what do you think is the health of the Japanese economy?
Okay. Japan has only two choices. One, deflation. Every time the currency appreciates, inflation goes down because it's an export economy. It's not an import economy. Okay, it's an export economy. The corporate profit margin comes down. Okay, but you have so much debt. When you have debt in an economy which is seeing deflation, the value of debt goes up. Think about your house, which is worth X. You've spent based on that house. The value of that house goes down. Your spending has to come down. It's as simple. Your income remaining same. If the value of house goes down or the value of your asset goes down, your spending goes down. Now they have so much debt that the only choice for them is inflate away the debt. What do you mean by inflate away the debt? Inflate away the debt is bad for savers, good for investors. And they were trying to do exactly the same thing for the last 2 years. When you keep your interest rate low, you actually punish savers, but you reduce the debt in the system. So it was a very beautiful experiment which was continuing. And a lot of investors thought, oh, this experiment will continue. Let me short yen, let me borrow in yen, because yen only depreciates. And they also continued fanning that fire and saying, okay, guys, we need lower yen, we need lower yen so that we can inflate away our debt. Okay. Suddenly, in the last 3 months, they started changing their tune for the simple reason inflation is now hitting the retail public, the population over there. So you cannot have both the way. You cannot have your cake and eat it too if you are not US. US is the reserve currency of the world. They can get away with anything. Japan is not. So now Japan is faced with only two things. When any currency, any country which is indebted has only three choices: either increase the productivity, lower the cost of the currency, or third, you go into deflation where you have a serious problem. You just default. So Japan is going, in my view, had for the last 2 years was thinking about inflating away the currency. And they can still inflate away the currency. The interest rate is only 0.25%. I do not think there is any other choice left for Japan. So I will not be banking too much about Japanese yen continuing to appreciate from here. Was a knee-jerk reaction. The knee-jerk reaction is over. In the next 3 months, we will find US will reduce the rate, right? Japan will continue to have the same rate. The interest rate differential between Japan and other countries will come down itself. So Japan can continue with this experiment for some time. It's just that it was too fast in a too short period of time.
Okay, and talking about the same subject, were there any prior indications that this could happen?
No. Yen started appreciating. Look, 3 months back, yen was depreciating, and they were trying, to intervene in the market so as not to allow depreciation. They intervened at 160. They intervened at 155. They told people, do not speculate against our currency, right? Because they were getting very uncomfortable towards 160 kind of thing. And they had actually put more than $50 billion intervention at that point of time to support the currency. See what has happened in 3 months from supporting the currency, JPY 3 months back. Now they have to sell the currency so that it does not appreciate. So if it is all this thing has happened in a 3 months period of time and market has reacted so negatively, that means there was no indication.
I would like to change the subject and go to the global economy situation. What does this fall tell us about the current health of the global economy?
Okay. Market actually normally has nothing to do with the global economy. Markets were, you can keep market completely different away from it. But what happens is when the markets become volatile, corporates postpone their decisions making. Okay, they're not so much confident about the future. Whether we like it or not, stock prices make you feel good or bad. Higher stock prices make you feel confident, make you feel good, allows you decision making process. Okay, you are able to look at long period of time. But when the volatility seeps into the asset markets, like equity markets, you stop taking any decisions. It's like a deer in front of a headlight. You've not seen anything like this thing in the last 4 years because since COVID, central bankers had our back. Every time the volatility was there, they were standing behind us saying, we are there. Don't worry. Continue doing what you're doing. This is the first time our central bankers are not behind us. They've not said it. They've not done anything. The last time they did was over Silicon Valley Bank. This was bigger than Silicon Valley Bank, but we did not get an emergency rate cut from anywhere. So what we are entering into a period is completely different than what you are used to seeing since COVID. We are entering into a period where you will have two ways movement in the market, where you will have higher volatility. Higher volatility will lead to delayed decision making on, by corporates and even by retail. Okay, who's made a lot of money in asset markets, whether it is their housing or their 401ks. So it will lead to delayed decision making. So whether we like it or not, it slows down the economy simply because nobody is willing to take those kind of decisions what it was willing to take it before.
That's a good way to explain that. Thank you so much for that. And I would like to, perhaps you can help us understand what are the biggest vulnerabilities in the global financial system today?
The biggest vulnerabilities, I would say that the world economy is slowing down. There is absolutely no doubt.
Okay.
US is slowing down. Why? Last 3 4 years, government has been putting a lot of money into the economy. Actually, government expenditure as a percentage of economy went up across the world after COVID. It's like as if government is the economy. In the last couple of months, and in fact, I'll give you one more data that the hiring in the last 2 3 years, highest hiring was from government sector. It was not from private sector. It was government subsidies, which was leading to corporate world deciding which projects to invest into. Okay. So now recently the government expenditure in US has come down. How much they will continue to spend? So it has come down recently. That means US economy might be entering into a soft patch at this point of time. On the other hand, China wants to start pump priming its economy, putting money in the hand of its people because it cannot continue to be an export led economy. There is so much overcapacity in China that everybody, every country across the world is afraid of doing capex of their own because China is so cheap. Okay, they can get dumping. So US's economy is slowing down on one side. World is not willing to do capex because they are worried about China overcapacity. And China is not helping, or their time is not helping its consumers start buying goods and services. So this is creating a kind of problem where we are going back to we are dependent upon government to help us with the growth in the economy. China today has come out with a 20-point plan to help their household start spending. Let's see if that is successful. If that is not successful, then we go back to government spending. And if the government spending does not continue, we enter into a soft patch. Having said that thing, there is something other thing also is going on in the world where where in US they are worried about the new trade tariff barrier if Mr. Trump becomes the president. So let's say I'm a very big corporate. I do not want to take the risk of, if Mr. Trump becomes the president, he will have a trade and tariff barrier, increase the trade and tariff barrier against China. So what I will do, I will start buying the inventories today. I will start building up the inventories today to bypass, if he raises the tariff. So I will buy the things today ahead of its time. So that is leading to some kind of demand coming out of Chinese goods and services only because US corporates are now building up inventories.
Hmm.
What I have given you is a messy answer. Why? On one hand, I'm talking about government expenditure. On the other hand, I'm talking about China's overcapacity. On the third hand, I'm talking about companies wanting to front run Mr. Trump becoming a president. If my answer is messy, that tells you that why I'm telling you this thing is because I believe the global economic situation is messy.
It's messy. Yeah.
But
And
US is going to go through a soft patch.
bueno, interesante la entrevista, ¿no? Porque este hombre, bueno, es reconocido por muchos sectores por ser un tipo muy inteligente en cuanto a todo lo que tiene que ver con el análisis de los mercados emergentes y las políticas monetarias. Ritesh ha sido comentarista importante en temas de tendencias globales, económicas globales, y él ofrece perspectivas, digamos, sobre cómo esos cambios económicos y geopolíticos pueden impactar los mercados financieros. Repito, es un analista muy, muy interesante y que nosotros, por cierto, estamos ahora, hicimos una relación con él y vamos a estarlo citando mucho más en nuestro grupo Los 50 y aquí mismo en el Mercurio, porque la verdad es que ha venido dando muchos consejos, muchas recomendaciones que se han ido cumpliendo. Fíjense, él ha dicho cosas muy interesantes, ha dicho que el banco central más poderoso del mundo no es la Reserva Federal, sino que es el Banco de Japón. Ahí explicó un poco por qué. Cree que de alguna manera el Banco de Japón en este momento tiene muchas cosas que decidir con este papel crucial que juegan con el yen y el carry trade global, ¿no? También dice que el mundo está acostumbrado a ser alimentado con cuchara por los banqueros centrales, eso no es mentira, y subraya pues que los mercados están acostumbrados a esa previsibilidad de las acciones, en este caso de la Reserva Federal, Banco Central Europeo, Japón, y cuando, claro, eso cambia abruptamente, como ocurrió con el Banco Central de Japón, puede desencadenar pues reacciones indeseables, no muy fuertes en los mercados. Dice que la economía global está entrando en un periodo de volatilidad y de toma de decisiones bien retardadas y que por supuesto esa incertidumbre en los mercados lleva a que las corporaciones y nosotros mismos pues nos pospongamos decisiones importantes y eso ralentiza la economía. Dice que uno de los mayores errores de Estados Unidos pues por supuesto ha sido sancionar más que sancionar, congelar los activos rusos y empezar a usar de hecho sus intereses. Dice que eso ha traído consecuencias extraordinarias y que ha llevado a la creación pues, de un nuevo sistema monetario global y sobre todo a la desconfianza del dólar, ¿no? Habla, en un momento van a escuchar cómo explica el tema de cómo el mundo se está desglobalizando y de cómo se van a crear pues cadenas de valor internas. Eso es muy interesante para que nosotros tomemos decisiones sobre oportunidades que se presentan. Y bueno, habla de que este mundo nuevo, pues hoy tenemos que entender que cuando sintamos un miedo extremo en el mercado, ese es el momento de comprar. Él en la entrevista nos deja varias recomendaciones de manera, digamos, bien distribuidas, ¿no? Qué cosas van a funcionar y qué cosas no con tu dinero. Entonces yo creo que es muy, muy interesante que la terminemos de ver. Vamos ahorita a la segunda parte. Me dice aquí, nos dice por aquí Marco, vamos a ver lo que nos dice Marco. Marco nos dice que ahora resulta que YouTube le quita todo el volumen para que no pueda escuchar el programa y que lo mismo le pasó en YouTube y en la televisión por varios días. Dice Carmen Fraga que Japón van contra Japón. A algunos no les gusta sentirse superados. Bueno, Japón realmente es ya hace mucho tiempo, Carmen, es un lacayo de los Estados Unidos y de hecho se dejaron montar ese banco central allí para crear un experimento que hoy, después de 30 años, pues está llegando a su fin, ¿no? Con estas monedas fiduciarias sumamente infladas. Dice, en España lo mismo, la mayor contratación es por el gobierno y ayudando por las subvenciones y entramos en recesión. Así es. Un poco tarde dice que llegó Ferramos, entre otros, ¿no? Qué claridad para explicar. Yo también siento que Ritesh explica con mucha claridad. Y bueno, vamos a ir a la segunda parte. A veces siento que la gente no disfruta lo de los subtítulos, pero es que yo no hay una forma más práctica de hacerlo, amigo. Si usted realmente le gusta este tipo de información y la considera necesaria, va a buscar leerlo. Hay varias formas de hacerlo. Usted puede bajar la velocidad a YouTube. Ahí hay una bolita ahí de configuración y usted le dice que le haga el video más lento para que usted lo lea más lento. Pero en realidad eso es lo más que podemos hacer. Hay que leerlo, ¿no? Yo di mi like, dice Carlos HS. Carlos, vamos a la segunda parte de la entrevista. Yo quiero comentarles, porque bueno, siempre me preguntan, constantemente pues me preguntan, y yo creo que es muy válida la pregunta, está todo muy bien esto, pero ¿qué hago, no? ¿Qué hacemos? Muchos de ustedes, ¿no? ¿Cómo va a ser? ¿Cómo enfrentar esta propuesta de nuevo orden mundial y nuevo orden financiero que se avecina? Todo el tema de dinero digital, los BRICS, la guerra mundial, guerra civil, la Agenda 2030, y la respuesta es simple: invierta en información de calidad. ¿Qué te puedo decir? O sea, hay gente que está trabajando para eso todos los días, buscando la mejor manera de irse adaptando a todo esto que viene, ¿no? En un mundo que se está fragmentando, con economías y finanzas tomando caminos divergentes, las dinámicas geopolíticas y geoeconómicas están cambiando radicalmente, y en ese nuevo escenario, amigos, pues por supuesto, van a crearse crisis, pero también van a surgir oportunidades únicas, y eso hay que tenerlo en cuenta. Yo creo que es crucial pues contar con la asesoría personalizada. Nosotros damos una que creemos que es bien oportuna. Ahí te vamos a guiar a través pues de los próximos ciclos de superinflación y vamos a intentar ayudarte pues a tomar decisiones estratégicas para que protejas tu patrimonio y lo hagas crecer en ese entorno complejo. Yo te recomiendo que te vayas abajo a la descripción del video y lo busques. Ya como ustedes saben, tenemos muchísimos años, ya son 5 años aquí dedicados a entender lo que se está formando y a ensamblar las mejores estrategias para prepararnos ante lo que viene. No nos quedamos solo con lo que pasa. Bueno, sí, está pasando esto y aquello, pero ¿qué hacemos? ¿Cómo nos preparamos, no? Entonces, aquí lo que intentaremos es guiarte, sobre todo de manera muy eficiente, para que tomes acción con confianza. Tenemos esta famosa fórmula antiinflación y con nosotros vas a recibir pues un plan detallado sobre cómo proteger tus activos, cómo salir ganando en medio de esos cambios que se están produciendo. Vas a aprender, por supuesto, lo que los inversores antiinflación están utilizando hoy, dónde colocan su dinero, en qué porcentaje y lo más importante, por qué lo hacen. Entonces te dejo la información abajo en la descripción del video y también pues, bueno, lo puedes conseguir también en el mercurioane.com. Esa asesoría la doy yo personalmente. Estoy incluyendo un par de personas al equipo porque ya me estoy quedando sin tiempo y espacio. Ya están con nosotros trabajando, de hecho, en esas asesorías porque bueno, están llegando muchos y a veces me quedo sin tiempo para atenderlos, pero son 5 sesiones totalmente personalizadas y te vas a ir muy contento, ¿no? De lo que se supone deberías hacer. Bueno, vamos a ir entonces, dice Raúl Larrarte, gracias por mostrar tal calidad de invitado, te supera sumando opiniones calificadas, gracias hermano. Dice Marco García, amigo un poco tarde, pero sin sueño, excelente, saludos, excelente trabajo, gracias a ti. Y dice Valentín Méndez, yo llevo desde 21 con onzas plateadas y coloradas y comida. Ah, muy bien, Valentina. El oro y la plata es fundamental. ¿Qué plataforma usa? Nosotros usamos, bueno, yo para el tema de la bolsa uso TradeStation, pero eso lo decías tú, eso es lo de menos. Bueno, vamos entonces a seguir con la segunda parte de la entrevista. Esta parte también es interesantísima porque hablamos más de geopolítica, hablamos de la India, del valor del oro, entre otras cosas. Así que veamos a Ritesh Jain en nuestro canal. And in you talk about China and US. Perhaps you can give us a little view about the India role in all of this. What do you think India is doing now?
India is actually one of the safest place at this point of time for the simple reason we are in a new Cold War, whether we like it or not, in a new Cold War where countries have to decide with whom they are. India has chosen its own path of non-alignment long period of time. And that means we are going to be friends with everybody. We are nobody's enemy. We don't threaten anybody. So what it means is you can even attract investment from China. You can attract investment from US. You can attract investment from Russia. You can take oil from Russia in Indian rupees, in INR, bypassing dollar. Okay. India instituted goods and services tax, which is leading to higher tax collection. India did not spend that kind of money after COVID, which the rest of the world did. So India's financial situation is good. All in all, after COVID, if there is one country which has been winner out of it, is India. And that you can see it in their markets.
Yeah. And what role do you think geopolitical conflicts and trade tensions play in this context?
For rest of the world or for India?
No, for rest of the world.
Rest of the world. Chinese have built up overcapacities everywhere. You cannot compete with their EV. It's a $9,000 EV. Okay. So they have across different where not at the lowest level. So they have vacated iPhone assembling, toy manufacturing, okay, which is left to countries which are $3,000 to $4,000 per capita GDP. They are in $10,000 to $12,000 per capita GDP. So they make value-added products like telecommunication equipments, cars. They are the largest exporter of car in the world from 5 years back, nowhere. So everywhere across the world, if I'm a company in Canada, okay, I cannot do capex because I'm worried about Chinese dumping into Canadian economy, right? Because everything is so cheap, what is being made by China. This is leading to trade tensions across the world. This is leading to new globalization where Western world is shutting itself off from Chinese goods. But Chinese are saying, no worries, I knew about this thing. That's why I created One Belt, One Road. Countries along the One Belt, One Road are 3 to 4 billion people. From Turkey, from Istanbul to Indonesia, and even Africa. I will sell my goods in those countries. So those countries are the ones which are, and where the per capita GDP is rising, young population, even parts of Latin America is where, China is having its own, in building the roads over there. So China is redirecting its surplus or exports away from developed world to developing and one belt, one road countries. And
Mm.
China is also investing in those countries. So this is a new alignment of world which is happening in front of us.
Do you see that we are living in some kind of stage of a world trade war and a world also not only a trade war but also a monetary war? Do you see signs of this?
What do you mean by monetary war?
You people trying to use their money, their currency to fight again another
Yes,
country.
yes. So it happened. It started happening in 2022. I'll give you a very small example. Uh, if you are having your foreign exchange reserves, okay, your country, my country has a foreign exchange reserves in dollar, they don't lie in within the borders of our country within our banks. They lie in New York with one of those big banks, JP Morgan and all those things. Russia also had the same thing. But you confiscated Russia's foreign exchange reserves. The day you did that thing, the day we had a new monetary system, emergence of a new monetary system. Think about a country like India, which now continues to deal with Russia. They would also be feeling afraid that tomorrow US can sanction their FX reserves also.
Mm.
China will also feel the same way, right? Saudi Arabia, which says, okay, my biggest buyer is no more Americans, it is actually Chinese. Why should I continue to increase my US holdings?
Mm.
So India and Russia and all these countries need to use SWIFT. Russia is barred from SWIFT from using US dollar. So now India is transacting with Russia in INR or in a third currency and saying they are not willing to take dollar. We say, you take INR from us. Then they say, what do we do with the INR? So since we cannot allow Russia to invest back in our country, we tell them use that INR to buy goods and services from India.
Mm.
Saudi Arabia selling oil to China, China selling goods to Saudi Arabia. Whatever is the surplus left, I agree. Saudi Arabians will not buy Chinese yuan as FX currency, right? They will not keep it. But then Chinese says to them, go to Shanghai Metal Exchange. You can convert the CNY into gold and take the gold with you. This has all started happening in the last 2 years. From the time G7 sanctioned Russia's FX reserves. The biggest mistake which US would have made in the last 50 years would be sanctioning Russia's FX reserves.
Yeah, and coming to the very close to the end of this interview, I want to thank you because of your time and your knowledge. I've been enjoying this so much. And how should individual investors prepare to face this type of situation that we're living now? And what do you think the role of gold uh, is? I mean, what do you think people should take a view on gold? It's important to have it. So these two questions in one.
I would say at this point of time, at least in part of Latin America, India, China, people still have gold in their asset allocation, but it's a very, very small part. Western world, they do not have a part in they do not have gold as a part of asset allocation. I strongly believe that gold should be a part of your asset allocation simply because fiat currencies are going to be inflated away. There
Mm.
is so much debt in the world. The only that only two ways for you to reduce the debt is either default. Default means bread lines, 10-15% unemployment. No government can do that thing.
Mm.
The other is slowly inflate away the debt, which Japan tried doing it, which US tried doing 2 years back. Till the time that debt comes down to manager level. Like today, US debt to GDP is 130%. There are 52 cases of countries having debt to GDP achieving 130% in last 150 years. 51 out of 52 those countries defaulted on their debt by inflating away the debt. Yes, couple of them outright default also, but most of them inflating away the debt. if they are going to inflate away the debt, then you need to have real assets and gold in your asset allocation.
Yeah.
Secondly, I believe more and more countries will look inwards. They will no more be happy with a global trade. WTO is kind of defunct now. So more and more countries will try to create value, value chain around within their country where they can control that thing. US is trying to reindustrialize. India is trying to reindustrialize. So that is where a big amount of opportunity lies, in my view.
That's very inflationary, right?
Sorry? Yes. In how do you invest in inflation? Important thing is how do you invest in inflation? I'm not saying we're going for hyperinflation, but I'm saying we are headed for inflation. In inflation, the value of money comes down. The value of asset goes up.
Yeah, I have two more questions. One is it wasn't part of the interview, but I'm very curious. What is the role of gold in Indian culture? Because I'm always curious about this very long civilization, very old kind of civilization and people like India. What do you think about gold? What I read and when I traveled there, I saw that gold is very important to you in a personal way. But people save in gold. What is the relation between people
Yeah.
and gold?
It's used for a lot of different reasons, a lot of different, in different ways, like in when the marriages are taking place, you know, and from generations, it is kept in your family in the form of jewelry. It is transferred to the next generation. Okay. And gold over a period of time has maintained the purchasing value of currency. Whether we like it or not, India is an emerging country. In an emerging country, the value of currency always falls. Gold over a period of time has maintained the purchasing value of currency. Indians own 25,000 tons of gold at household level, as per World Gold Council. And since we had such a strong culture heritage of owning gold, we have continued with that thing at least till this current generation. And I do not think Indians will sell gold irrespective of the price of the gold,
Hmm.
because you're not doing it for trading purposes. It is a part of the culture.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. And the final one is, what are the signs that investors should look for to anticipate future declines?
Okay. In my view, future declines will be coming, it will be very short and sharp. Why? All of us are getting information at the same point of time. It is known as democratization of information because of social media. Okay. Because of transparency in the corporate world, we all get the same information at the same point of time. And that means all of us react exactly at the same point of time on every small thing. Corrections which should normally take 2, 3 months are happening in 2 days. Okay, so whenever you see such kind of short and sharp declines, okay, fear is your best friend, which is easier said than done, but fear is your best friend. So I would say in this brave new world after this, what we've seen in the new JPY related decline, your central bankers are not having your back. And that means markets is going to remain volatile. Market will be a two-way movement. Whenever you feel extremely fearful about the market, that is a time to buy the market.
Hmm. Great. Yeah. I've been telling my people here, keep your cash, raise cash. Cash will be very important soon.
Yes,
Yeah. So
cash is an asset. Cash
cash.
is an asset.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we can meet again. And
yeah, sure.
I thank to my people, remember to subscribe to the channel,
Yep.
activate the little bell, and also to share this content. Thank you so much. Bueno, amigos, ahí veían a Ritesh Jain con nosotros. Si hay alguna pregunta, este es un buen momento para hacerla. Entre otras cosas, este hombre nos dijo, el efectivo es muy importante, el oro es muy importante, el miedo es muy importante. Cuando haya miedo en los mercados es hora de comprarlo. Y nos dijo que las caídas van a ser cortas, pero bien bruscas. Así que hay que estar muy atento. Yo les recomiendo Yo les recomiendo dos cosas que solemos recomendar no solamente en el grupo de los 50, sino en nuestras asesorías personalizadas. Es invierta a largo plazo e invierta de manera diversificada. No pongas todos los huevos en la misma canasta y no pienses al corto plazo, porque no es que no se pueda hacer dinero a corto plazo, sí se puede, pero es más riesgoso. Yo más bien soy de los que pienso que es mejor ir como la tortuga, no lento pero seguro, que como la liebre. Y vienen muchas oportunidades, sobre todo a largo plazo. Viene todo el tema de la reindustrialización del mundo, la electrificación del mundo. Y todo eso lo hablamos en el grupo de los 50 y lo hablamos en nuestras asesorías personalizadas. Dice, los invitados que tienen son los más indicados y es normal que no sean hispanohablantes, dice Eddie Escamilla. Nos brindan los mejores expositores y todavía la gente se queja. Queremos todo sin esfuerzo. Gracias, Eddie. Sí, a veces la gente no entiende. Por ahí alguien decía que busque expertos de habla hispana. Los hay, sí los hay, pero algunos te dicen que no, otros no quieren, otros no pueden, otros ni siquiera tienen manera de contactarlos. Y la verdad es que tipos como Ritesh Jain son extraordinarios y nos dicen que sí, hay que entrevistarlos, pues, ¿no? ¿Qué plataformas usan para invertir desde México en la Bolsa de Valores de Estados Unidos? Bueno, fíjate, yo tengo entendido que hay varias, pero yo no invierto desde ninguna plataforma en México. Yo lo hago directamente en los Estados Unidos. Y lo hago directamente con un broker que me permite, que tiene sus cuentas en el banco más poderoso del mundo, en el más sólido, ¿no? Yo trato de no tener intermediario, voy directamente con ellos. Enrique Díaz nos dice, increíble entrevista, Antonio, escuché con suma atención, infinitas gracias. Aquí en Argentina prometieron libertad, pero aún no nos sacan los grilletes. Saludos, no, ni se lo sacarán, hermano. Eso es un país que ya está comprometido, mientras está esta gente ahí, está comprometido, bueno, para las grandes corporaciones, ¿no? Y lamentablemente no solamente son ustedes, son casi todos los del sur global, lamentablemente estamos metidos en ese juego. Bueno, quiero darles las gracias por haber estado con nosotros. Recuerden que tenemos algo que para nosotros es muy importante. Active la campanita. No solamente se suscriba al canal, hay muchísima gente suscrita, pero active la campanita porque para nosotros es vital que le lleguen las notificaciones de cuando estamos transmitiendo en vivo. Así que les pido por favor que active la campanita. Dice Ricardo Soto, en estos tiempos es vital no tener deudas y que no sean variables. Así es, hermano. Una de las cosas que venimos nosotros ya hace 3 años, 2 años, advirtiendo en el grupo de los 50, trata de salir de todas las deudas, sobre todo deudas bancarias, deudas con los bancos y accede a activos duros, ¿no? Hard assets. Isabel de la Torre, gracias Antonio, excelente este expositor. A mí me dio tranquilidad. Sigo al firme con la opción que elegí a partir de seguirte a ti, Daniel 2020. Gracias, Isabel. ¿Cómo contacto con un broker? El rollo que para uso se ocupan ITIN. No. Todo eso, por eso es que tienes que tomar nuestra asesoría, SPC. No necesitas un ITIN number o un Social Security number para invertir por lo menos no en TradeStation, y sobre todo no estando en México. Yo estoy aquí, no necesito ni ITIN number ni Social Security number. Humberto Landero Baraja, no olviden sus likes. Claro que sí, Humberto, gracias por siempre recomendar a la gente dejar su like y compartir con sus amigos y seres queridos. Estos días, por cierto, estuve con Rubén Luengas. Ayer viernes en la noche, sí. No, ayer fue, sí, ayer. Wow. No, ayer fue sábado, perdón, antes de ayer estuve con Rubén Luengas ahí. Les recomiendo que vayan y lo busquen hablando de Venezuela. Bueno, mi humilde opinión sobre Venezuela. Y creo que Humberto estaba ahí. Bueno, muchachos, gracias por estar con nosotros. Recuerden, como les digo, pues dejar su like, sobre todo activar la campanita. Eso es muy, muy importante para que les lleguen nuestras notificaciones. Y nos vemos ya la próxima semana. Abrazo grande a todos.